Hey everyone, Joe Waxman here. Today I want to look at the conjunction of Jupiter and Mercury in all the signs. All right, so first things first, guys, please hit the like button if you can, and subscribe if you haven't already. My next class will be January 14th. I'm doing it every other week, so Sunday, January 14th, and just hit me up on email if you want to be on the list. And if you've already emailed me, don't worry about it. I'll email you. You're on the list already. So, okay, let's get started. Well, let me just actually briefly, let me share the screen. All right, first one's Quentin Tarantino, but just in general. Okay, there we go. Just in general, Jupiter conjunct Mercury. These are kind of opposing forces, Jupiter and Mercury. Jupiter ruling Sag and Pisces. It's the big mind. It's philosophy, religion, optimism, faith. It's a great benefic. It brings success and good things. Jupiter, very expansive nature. Mercury's the small mind, the intellect, rules the opposing signs from Jupiter, Mercury and Virgo. So it's much more contracted, small-minded, intellectual, communication, analytical, editorial, that sort of thing, managerial. So when you put these two together, it has an interesting effect where they're kind of neutralizing each other. Mercury, and anytime you have a conjunction, you have to look how one planet affects the other and how the other planet affects that other planet, right? They're each influencing each other. Mercury is, they're both mental planets, right? The small mind versus the large mind. And so they're kind of drawing each other in to make a middle mind, right? And of course, it depends which is stronger, and that will determine whether they're more intellectual, communicative, or philosophical, expansive, faith-based, right? Yeah, so Mercury is going to make Jupiter much more of an intellect, more factual, logical, grounded in, science. And Jupiter is going to have the opposite. It's going to make the Mercury much more philosophical. For instance, if you take like Mercury conjunct Saturn, this is a very scientific, hard intellectual conjunction, right? And just as a comparison, then you move Saturn out of Jupiter. Now, all of a sudden, you're taking that hard science and expanding it and making it much more philosophical, right? And it's going to behave differently in all the different signs. Okay, so I'm going through each sign. Quentin Tarantino actually is the first one I'm doing, and he's on the cusp of a really good sign to have a cusp, and that is Jupiter in Pisces and Mercury in Aries, with Sun conjunct Mercury in Aries. Sun's exalted, right? So normally the Mercury, if Jupiter and Mercury were both in Pisces, now the Mercury would be in detriment and debilitation, because opposite its domicile and exaltation. So Mercury would be in bad shape there. So not so good for logic, kind of, dreamy, spacey, very good for spiritual things, potentially even psychic things. But in any case, in this case, Jupiter is in Pisces, so the imagination is excellent, great for acting, great for films. Produces, Jupiter will make give good success. By the way, this is not a real house chart, because we don't know the time, so it's not the 10th house, so we don't know the houses. But Jupiter will benefit whatever house it rules and whatever house it's in. Obviously, it's ruling the house it's in, so it's whatever house this is, we don't know, but that's going to do well. And then Mercury in Aries is doing quite well here because it's conjunct an exalted sun. So Mercury in Aries is going to be much more logical than Mercury in Pisces. Mercury in Pisces is going to be more spiritual, illogical, delusional, fantasy-based, great for, creative things if they can bring it to reality. That's always the problem with creativity, is that people can be extremely creative, but you'll never know it unless they can make it real, right? Unless they can take that creativity and make something of it, right? So there are a lot of creative people out there who never materialize their creativity, right? But this Mercury is very physical. Aries is going to bring in themes of violence and aggression and stuff like you see in his movies. But the Jupiter is so this is a really good combination for somebody like Quentin Tarantino, who does these fantasy films that are at the same time like aggressive, violent, right? So that's pretty interesting. So I just wanted to put him in first. But let's just do Aries. Aries. All right, and we're going to pull up Maria Sharapova. And if you don't know, oops. All right, if you don't know who she is, she's a tennis champion. A Russian tennis champ. She was like #1 for like a long time. Female. So Aries fits the bill for that, right? Warrior, athlete, aggressive, and this is not the correct time. Again, okay, so some of these are not obviously the correct time, but Sun in Aries, North Node in Aries, Jupiter in Aries, and Mercury in Aries. With the Mercury and Jupiter and North Node all tightly conjunct in Aries. And again, we can't look at the houses. We don't know what house is. But Venus is exalted in Aries in Jupiter's sign of Pisces. That's good. We could look at Mars. Mars in Gemini. Mars in Gemini is extremely agile, right? Because the Gemini, Mars is physically quick. Gemini is mentally quick. So Mars and Gemini is they're all over the place, right? They can be everywhere at once, right? Sort of like, I think Mike Tyson has Mars and Gemini. It's like, you never know where he's going to be. He's going to move in like very unpredictable ways because that's Gemini. And so is Maria Sharapova. You're never going to be able to guess where the ball is going to go with somebody like Mars and Gemini. And then the Aries is just full force, like neither Jupiter or, Mercury does not bad in Aries because, Aries is a focused planet. So Mercury can be like a bit more focused. Jupiter in Aries is very inspiring, right? And obviously for sports, it's going to do well, right? But, we can't analyze the houses. The Sun in Aries is going to help a lot with this. The other people who are in Aries, and maybe I should have done one of these charts just so we could look at the houses, is Joan Crawford and Shirley Temple. So both older actresses. In any case, I chose Maria Sharapova just to bring in an athlete and show the Aries sort of aggressive force. But it's not a bad combination, Jupiter and Mercury. Jupiter will expand and bring success to Mercury, but it's going to kind of weaken the intellect. And it's, in any case, we'll look at other ones, get a better idea. All right, let's move to Taurus. And for that, I'm going to do Kennedy, JFK. All right. So JFK actually has a very similar chart to me. Not the same ascendant, but Moon in Virgo, -2 degrees, Sun and Venus in Gemini, and Jupiter and Mercury in Taurus. So that's interesting. But by the way, his Mercury is stationary. Okay, and that's one of the reasons why he was so good at making speeches. And his speeches were like legendary, right? Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country, right? That's stationary Jupiter, stationary Mercury, very smart. Um, Mercury has a mutual reception with Moon and Venus, same as me. Moon is bonifying this whole triple planet in Taurus, because Moon is exalted in Taurus, Mercury is exalted in Virgo. So that's excellent. Mercury and Venus are in mutual reception. So there's a lot of eighth house activity. It's not so much seventh. It's not so much seventh. It is pulling in a little bit of seventh, but mostly eighth. And that's why he's able to dig deep and really discover what was going on with the CIA, because CIA is all like hidden stuff. So eighth house, secrets. He's really into secrets, right? Moon actually is 11th house, but moving into the 12th house. Not only that, Uranus is stationary. So Uranus is all about the awareness, politics, social, the big, huge view, right? You're watching the whole world with Uranus. If Uranus is stationary and he's got eighth house, he's so aware. He's really aware. Not every president, I think, is, they get filled in on stuff, but they're not that aware. They're not that awake. Uranus is all about awakening and awareness and really understanding what's going on. Fifth house is trine to the ascendant. So it's similar to what I have with Uranus on the ascendant, except the trine is better in some ways, right? Didn't work out so well for him, but Uranus is square this Jupiter and Mercury and somewhat Mars, right? So that is accidental, especially with the eighth house, right? The eighth house cusp is right on the Mercury and Jupiter, right in between there. So definitely accidental, eighth house death. I mean, Sun and Venus are also in the eighth quadrant, but moving into the ninth house. So a bit more philosophical. In any case, let's see, Mercury is ruling the ninth cusp and the 12th. Philosophy, religion, foreign things. Jupiter is ruling the third house, communication, intellect, and the sixth house, very academic house. So very smart, great at speaking, but you can feel sort of the Mercury and Jupiter conjunction in Taurus, because he's combining a very powerful intellect, right? That's dispositing both his sun, Venus, and moon, and Jupiter, which is making it much more philosophical. And he does it, I think, very well. This is quite a successful combination of Jupiter and Mercury. And Mars is also there, Mars and Taurus. So he's very stubborn, right? Fixed on his goal of one of the biggest things that he wanted to do was dismantle the CIA. Splinter it into 1,000 pieces. I think that's what he said. So yeah, Mercury and Jupiter combining the philosophical and the intellect and bringing them together. I think it's quite a good one here. Quite a good example. All right, let's move on. Got to go through all the signs, so I don't want to take too long on each one. Gemini. Ooh, this should be interesting. Gemini is always interesting, if you haven't noticed. Chris Brown. Mercury and Jupiter and Gemini. Obviously, Mercury is in domicile here, so Mercury is much stronger. Mercury ruling the 11th house of career success, groups, networks, and the second house of voice. All right. Jupiter, not so good, ruling the 8th house, eek, and the 5th house. Well, the 5th house, I mean, that is important for an artist, it's performance and whatnot. But 8th house is, 8th house is I mean, So let's see. Saturn. So one of the things, like, he's had a huge success in his career, right? But he's known for what? Beating his wife. So Mars is in Cancer. That's violent. Rihanna beat Rihanna. Saturn's ruling the 7th. Saturn is conjunct Neptune in Capricorn, but in the 6th, along with Uranus. So that's kind of explosive or competitive. You know, Saturn in Capricorn is very well controlled, but 6th house is a house of aggression. 7th Lord in the 6th is not good, because it's the loss of the partner. It's the 12th from the 7th. So just note on that. In any case, that's not good. Jupiter not in good dignity, ruling the 8th, can mean loss of reputation as well. Can bring downfall, ruination. But I don't know much about Chris Brown, but it obviously did work out well for him. But I mean, he's got, like, look, exalted moon and domicile Venus in Taurus, with the sun ruling the ascendant right in the 10th house. This is super strong. And then Mercury in Gemini. So obviously this Mercury is much stronger than Gemini, than the Jupiter. So his religion, his philosophy, his faith, his optimism, probably not that great, right? He probably gets depressed. He probably doesn't believe in God or religion very much. And yeah, Sun's opposite Scorpio. So he's pretty controlling and dominating for sure. Sun's opposite Pluto and Scorpio. Sun and Taurus opposite Pluto and Scorpio in the 4th, at home, right? At home, he's going to be pretty abusive because the square the ascendant opposite the sun, T-square. So in any case, super successful, super talented, yeah, but his Mars lacks control, even though he's hardworking and disciplined. But Neptune is going to weaken that Saturn. In any case, yeah, the Jupiter. So the Jupiter is his ability to connect to higher things is limited. Right? He's not very high-minded. Okay, that's Gemini. Oh, let me back up a little. In Taurus, besides JFK, it's Lenny Kravitz, Stephen Colbert, Lizzo, and Dean Martin. Okay. In Gemini, it's Muammar Gaddafi and Ted Kaczynski. Interesting. Muammar Gaddafi is the Libyan leader who Obama and Hillary Clinton had murdered and drove a very successful nation, rising nation, very prosperous or becoming into prosperity, into absolute ruination. And these are supposed to be the good liberals, right? Destroying nations, good liberals, good Democrats. We're going to go and murder nations and we're good guys. No. In any case, that was Muammar Gaddafi. He was a great leader for the Libyan people. Now they have an active slave trade, right? We're all up in arms about slaves in America, yet the Democrats are creating slaves in other countries. The good guys. It's a load of crap. Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber, also. Mercury and Jupiter in Gemini. So interesting combination. All right, Cancer. Let's go to Cancer. You can tell that's my 11th house moon and my Uranus on the ascendant. I'm very, very aware of world events and very they mean something to me, especially because of the moon. It's like what you're moved by, where your heart is. So in the 11th house, it's going into worldly events. Okay. Angela Merkel. Mercury and Jupiter in Cancer. Okay. 7th, moving into 8th house. Right. So becoming very dark and secretive. But Jupiter is exalted. It's conjunct the South Node. Sun conjunct Uranus. So Uranus always, well, not always, but a lot of times you're going to see it very prominent with politicians because the Uranus brings that worldly, social, political awareness. big picture. They want to be involved in the big picture of things. And Mercury is stationary. Ooh, she's a smart one. She's just, well, wow. So Mercury is stationary, Jupiter is exalted and conjunct South Node. So she's no dummy, right? And then Sun conjunct Uranus. Wow. Yeah, no wonder she's leader. But she can't be trusted because Neptune is conjunct the MC, so she's a liar. She will lie her and square the Sun and Uranus. So yeah, she's lying. And Uranus square Neptune is going to kind of mess up the kind of purity of Uranus, where Uranus is very aware of what's going on. She's corrupt. She's smart as can be, and secretive, right? Yeah, wow. So let's see, Jupiter is ruling the third cusp, even though it is fourth whole sign house. So third and fourth influence here, and first. So yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. She's very strong. Mars in the first house, no messing around. She appears very caring. Oh, Cancer is also good for politicians because homeland, mothering, protecting the homeland, right? So she's very protected, but she's also like quite smart, but kind of cold underneath, right? Because Moon in Aquarius, very intellectual, but very mental. And yeah, Mercury is ruling the 7th and the 9th cusp, although 10th whole sign house, 9th, 10th. So yeah, she appears very generous, very caring, very protective, but she's also dishonest, and there's a certain level of cold calculation underneath. Saturn's in Scorpio. I mean, yeah, that's pretty intense. Saturn in Scorpio, that's in the 10th house. So she rules like, with total control. Saturn in Scorpio. Saturn's the law, Scorpio is power and control. Right. So interesting. Yeah, Jupiter would be stronger here, especially because it's more conjunct the South Node, but Mercury's stationary. So Mercury, even though it's not in a great sign for Mercury, it's stationary, so it's smart. It's smart. And her ability to communicate with people is great. Her education. I mean, the Venus in Virgo is not great, but Virgo for intellect, right? Very picky. Yeah, Pluto has good aspects to it, but she's a liar. Neptune square the Sun, conjunct the MC. Unfortunately, too many politicians have Neptune conjunct the MC. MC is public. Neptune is lies and deception. They just lie to the people. That's all they do. They lie, and they're good liars. And so people think, oh, they're telling the truth. No, they're not. They're lying. And astrology is superior to psychology. So, I mean, astrology will tell the truth. Psychology will just make up excuses and can confuse the situation. So you want to know the truth, look at astrology. She's a liar. All right. Hugo Chavez, who was a social activist, unionist, also Jupiter, Mercury, and Cancer. So like these are protective people, and combined, they're very focused with their mind. Mercury, Jupiter. All right, let's move to Leo. I'm getting so many people on my list because I have to enter them all manually, but I'm getting so many. So Kevin Hart. So Mick Jagger, Kevin Hart, Billy Bob Thornton are Leo, Jupiter, Mercury. Right. So for any Mercury and Jupiter are good for comedy. That's one thing, because Jupiter is going to kind of lighten and expand the intellect, right? And Mercury is a planet that is very Mercury is useful, not useful, it's extremely useful in comedy, but so is Jupiter, right? Mercury and Jupiter both lend themselves very well to comedy, right? So in fire signs or air signs, it's going to lend itself to humor. It's either going to create a comedian or somebody who has a good sense of humor and has a lot of levity to their personality. Jupiter is going to expand the expression and intellect and communication, right? And Mercury is going to make Jupiter more, I don't know, funny, I guess. Well, Jupiter's funny on its own anyways. They both are, but it's just combining that. It's funnier, I think, a lot of times. Any case, so it's in Leo in the 12th house. So that's great for creativity, great for movies, acting, being on stage, performance. Interestingly, he has Saturn conjunct Ascendant and in Virgo. And so this is like this kind of nervousness that he has. Like Saturn's very scared, Virgo is very nervy. So it's like, he comes off like scared little like mouse or something. And it's funny. He's got the Jupiter, Mercury in Leo. Mercury's ruling the MC. Mars is in Gemini. So yeah, fire and air for comedy is excellent. Moon, Sag Moon. So let's see. Ascendant Lord and MC Lord Mercury conjunct Jupiter. So that's bringing him success, right? Career success. Self ascendant in Leo, fame, 12th house, acting, creativity, right? And Jupiter is ruling the 4th house, so early success, 7th house, personal relations, the masses. So it's a good combination, right? For career success, for somebody performing, general comedy. He's not like, I don't think he's super funny. I mean, he is funny, right? But he's well-rounded, right? This combination, like he could be good at movies, he could be good at comedy, stage performance, whatnot. Yeah, any case, that's Kevin Hart. Virgo. Let's go to Virgo. Michael Douglas. So just backtrack. Leo was Mick Jagger, Kevin Hart, Billy Bob Thornton. Virgo is Nick Jonas, Michael Douglas, and Rachel Ray. We already looked at Nick Jonas. Virgo is not going to be, Virgo is Mercury, right? He's exalted. All right. So Jupiter and Mercury in Virgo. 10th house, 11th, 10th, 11th, moving into the 11th cusp, right? Sun's ruling the MC. Sun's conjunct Neptune. That's great for acting, right? And then Venus bonifying it. Michael Douglas is married to Catherine Zeta-Jones, who's a famous, beautiful actress. Venus ruling the 7th in Libra, right? Actress, 12th house. So that fits quite well. Scorpio rising. Let's see. Mercury. So Mercury's ruling the 11th house and the 8th house. Interesting. Jupiter is ruling the 2nd and 5th. So because Mercury is exalted, that's helping the Jupiter in Virgo, because otherwise it wouldn't be great. Jupiter ruling the 2nd of speech. For acting, that's so important. Well, he's got his moon here, but moon is not. Moon is in Capricorn. So he plays a good bad guy. Whenever a planet is debilitated, especially like the arts or creativity, it's like reverse it. They can play a negative role, right? So with Moon being debilitated in the 2nd house, he can play a good bad guy, especially Jupiter also being in Virgo. 5th house for performance, entertainment, things like that. But then Mercury's here, so it's like a good bad guy, bad good guy, playing kind of mixed roles, right? 8th house is, like secretive and deep and powerful. 11th house is career success, money. So it's, it's quite good. There, yeah. All right, let's move on. Mixed quality, Jupiter and Mercury in Virgo, good and bad. But usually when a planet, there's a conjunction and one of them is dignified, the other one isn't, then the one that's dignified kind of leads the way and strengthens the one that's not. But there's polarity, there's drama, right? And that's good for acting. Okay, so Libra. Tyler Perry. Okay, so Tyler Perry, I mean, it's super obvious. It's just all about like this, 12th house, first house, like just falling into the ascendant. And that makes so much sense with what we know about his career. He's like, I just know he like does everything, right? Including the acting. He writes, directs, produces, acts, stars. Like he's a one-man show, right? And it's like 12th house, first house. And I guess 11th house too, but second house, third house, right? Sixth house. There you go. His ascendant it's all accumulating, like all these planets are falling into the ascendant. So Mercury is ruling the 12th, dispositing Sun, South Node, and Pluto, and the 9th. And it's conjunct the Moon too, and Jupiter. None of these are like super dignified. Venus is in Leo, Sun's in Virgo, but it's just really powerful for the ascendant, right? For the person. So we know like Tyler Perry, his name, like whenever you think about like ascendant or sometimes sun or a combination, you just like, how big is the person's name versus how big is their work? Tyler Perry, like we know, like that's a famous name, right? So it says something very strong about his ascendant and or his sun. But in this case, well, South Node Sun, right? Right. And Sun Pluto as well. But when it's on the ascendant, so that's going to bring out the expression, right? Especially Moon. Moon on the ascendant it's like wearing your heart on your sleeve. It's so expressive because the Moon is the emotions, the ascendant is the body, the face. So like the facial expressions become, it's like the heart is right on the face. With Mercury here, very fast intellect, very good expression, quick-minded, witty, and Jupiter expanding it all, bonifying it all. So this is quite good, quite unique. Let's see, Mercury is ruling the 9th house, and sorry, the 12th, 9th and 12th. Interesting. So that's like foreign philosophy, mystical, but also acting, higher education, things like that. Moon's ruling the MC. Jupiter is ruling the 6th and the 3rd. So communication, intellect, and also the academic, but editorial, daily, mundane, but Pisces, creative. So front and back of the house, everything, all combined right here on the ascendant. Neptune in the 2nd, that's probably good for acting. I have Neptune in the 2nd, not good for money, although I hear he's quite rich. For Scorpio, though, is going to protect it. That's hopefully. But in any case, interesting. Mars in the 3rd, that's quite good for expression. Mars in Sag, it'd be good for expression. Aggressive, but Mars square Pluto, eek. I mean, that's super competitive, super determined, very aggressive. Right. In any case. So yeah, Libra, Catherine Zeta-Jones, who's Michael Douglas's wife. I don't know if they still are, but Bridget Bardot and Tyler Perry. Let's move to Scorpio. All right. Carl Sagan. Okay, so Carl Sagan. It's got the Sun, Venus, Jupiter, and Mercury in Scorpio in the 6th, moving to the seventh, Sun especially, but still very much in the sixth. And so Scorpio is not just all about like deep, dark, like sex and murder and, like all the gritty. It's also about research. And so Scorpio can be very scientific, right? Because they're digging deep and they want to take things apart, right? So like psychology, even astrology has a very scientific element to it. But yeah, so like science. But with Mercury and Jupiter here, the Venus is going to create a nice personality, right? Very pleasant. But the Mercury and Jupiter is going to make it very philosophical, right? It's going to be philosophical intellect, right? And if you watched, him on his show, which I have, a lot of people have, it was quite successful. It was combining those two things. It was intellectual and philosophical and deep and kind of sixth house, which is very academic. Sixth house has a very kind of academic quality to it. I mean, ninth house is very high academic, like college level. The sixth house is also extremely academic, competitive, hardworking, all that. And then Mars is in a mutual reception with Mercury. Mercury is in Mars's sign, Mars is in Mercury's sign. So that's quite good as well, right? Yeah, North Node conjunct the MC, obsessed with, public, career, public, being out in the public. Saturn and also in Aquarius. So Aquarius is very scientific, very space oriented, very big minded. Saturn and Aquarius is very scientific. So yeah. All right, that's Carl Sagan. So I mean, my point with all this was showing you in each different sign all these people is to kind of give you a feel for what Jupiter and Mercury is like together, and they work not bad. They work well together, right? A lot of it's intellect and philosophy combining, right? Let's go. Okay, let's go to Sagittarius. Scorpio, Sagittarius. Sorry, it takes me a second to Kilmer. There's 12 signs, right? And I'm actually doing 13 in this one. So yeah. So Val Kilmer, right? Okay. Val Kilmer. Now he's got Sun exactly conjunct Saturn in Capricorn. So very strong ascendant, but very kind of like authoritative. But then Moon in Aquarius, right in the first, makes him so expressive, right? And funny. So he's got this kind of both, like deadly serious and then like this humorous quality to him that's quite unique, right? And very interesting. I like Val Kilmer. I think a lot of people like Val Kilmer. He's very likable, right? But he's got Jupiter, Mars, and Mercury in Sag. So the Mars kind of, I mean, this is not pure Mercury and Jupiter, but you can kind of, oh well. I mean, got to take it for what it is. Also, really nice trine with Uranus there, right in the middle. But Jupiter's in Sag, right? Jupiter's in domicile, and so Mercury is in detriment. Mercury is opposite Gemini. So the Mercury is not as good in this combination. So this will be much more philosophical, much more, big, grand, Jupiterian, expansive. He did expand in his later life, kind of got fat, but Jupiter is ruling the 11th and 12th, so great for career success and acting. Jupiter is ruling it's not really ruling a cusp here, but we could say second, third whole sign. So second, third, great. Again, great for acting. Fantastic for acting, right? And it's going to help out the Mars, right? When a planet's conjunct a benefic planet, a planet in dignity, it helps out all the others. So Mars ruling the MC. Mars is the exaltation lord of the ascendant. You also have to take that into account. It's something that I often forget, but it's still important. Third lord, intellect, expression, communication. And then Mercury, although in detriment. So again, he can play a good guy, bad guy, right? Like I always think about him in like Tombstone. He's a good guy, bad guy, right? He's still killing people, but he's a good guy, right? So he can play that dual role. It's dramatic. Mercury and Jupiter together are dramatic because they represent opposite sides, and that's dramatic. Mercury's ruling the 5th. That's great for entertainment. And the 8th. And so what's really interesting about Val Kilmer is that he had huge success early on, right? And then as he got older, less and less success. He expanded himself, his body, he got fat. And then I didn't know this, but I looked at the Wikipedia, he got throat cancer, right? So what happened? Well, whenever somebody like falls out of fame or falls into fame or success or whatever, something, the major change, look to the nodes. That's usually, it happens around midlife. They change their pattern, their energy, right? So North Node moved into Virgo. Pluto's in Virgo. Virgo is disposited by a detrimental Mercury in Sag, right? Conjunct Mars. Mars is a malefic. So even though Jupiter's here, it's still activating Mercury. So this is more the Mercury side. Whereas South Node, early life, was activating the Jupiter, this very strong Jupiter in Sag, right? So Mercury is being activated. Also, Pluto is being activated. Pluto is in conjunct Moon, right? Moon's ruling the 7th. Yeah, not really the 6th, but Mercury is ruling the 6th. So health and Moon and first house. He got throat cancer. So it is somewhat activating the 2nd house, I believe. Chiron here. So the throat is 2nd house, Taurian things. So I think that's what's going on. Also, Mars is, so let's see, Sun, Chiron is semi-square the Sun and Saturn. That's difficult. But Moon also is semi-square Mars. So this Moon is taking a beating here in the 1st, 2nd whole sign house. Yeah, and so Moon does also relate to the body, especially in the 1st house, and it's relating to the face and consequently the throat. I think it's carrying into the throat, especially with Chiron here with the bad aspect to the Sun and the Mercury being activated, Pluto being activated. So I think that's what's going on. Yeah, it is the 8th. It is the 8th quadrant, right? It's technically it is the 9th whole sign house, but it's still in the 8th quadrant. So that is a difficult fall from grace, 8th house, death and rebirth. In any case, Moon also has a mild square to Neptune. Neptune conjunct the MC, great for acting, terrible for politics. Neptune sextile the Sun and Saturn. So that's, again, for acting, excellent. Okay, so that's Val Kilmer in Sagittarius. Woody Allen and Bryan Adams also have this combination in Sag. All right. Capricorn. This one's fun. All right, so Samuel L. Jackson, time is not correct. I always do 12 p.m. when I don't know the time. So it's just a good I don't know, I just do it. I could do a moon chart. I just choose to do it this way. All right, so Mars in Capricorn conjunct Jupiter and Mercury, Sun in Sag. Okay, so like Samuel L. Jackson, right? Badass. This is why. So like Mars in Capricorn is conjunct Jupiter and it's conjunct Mercury. So Mars is kind of leading the way because Mars is exalted. So he's like he always plays a really strong character, super strong character, whether good or bad, doesn't really matter. Capricorn can, even though Mars is exalting Capricorn, Capricorn can definitely lend itself to, well, Jupiter in Capricorn is Jupiter is debilitating Capricorn. So that's why he's like playing a good bad guy again. It's dramatic. Good bad guys, bad good guys. These are very dramatic. And he's got this grandeur of trine. Let's see here. Mercury is bonifying. Mercury is in mutual reception with Saturn, right? Mercury's in Saturn sign, Saturn's in Mercury sign, but Mercury is exalted and in domicile in Virgo. So it's bonifying the moon and Saturn. Saturn is bonifying all of these Capricornian planets because it rules Capricorn. And the moon is also, you can say, bonifying the North Node because it's exalted in Taurus, right? But there's a lot of polarity here. It's grand Earth trine, and a lot of good, bad things going on, right? Jupiter in Capricorn, not so good. Mercury in Capricorn is neutral. Mars in Capricorn is excellent. Jupiter in Virgo, also not very good. Moon in Capricorn, not very good, right? Saturn in Capricorn, domicile, right? So good bad guy, bad good guy. Drama, again, it's excellent. And Mercury and Jupiter, again, producing the levity that we need, that we love. Even in Val Kilmer, so many of these people, they have like this quality that's like the Mercury and Jupiter. It makes them, Jupiter is lovable. Jupiter is wonderful, and wherever Jupiter is conjuncting, it makes it that much better. Even if it's Mercury, even if they don't get along that well, and Jupiter is somewhat spoiling kind of like the intellectual capacity of Mercury, it still produces something very enjoyable, something that we like, something that we love, right? So yes, very, very interesting. But this is why he's like that. That's why he's like everyone's like, on the lightsaber in Star Wars, the crew inscribed the initials BMF, bad motherfucker, for Samuel L. Jackson, because this, right? It's evident here in astrology. In astrology, we get to look at the real reasons why somebody is the way they are. This is the real reason. It's really what's going on. Plus, he's got a south node in Scorpio, right? All right. Let's keep going. All right, that is Capricorn. Let's go to Aquarius. Jim Carrey. Guys, I do have to pause it for 1 second. All righty, I'm back. Sorry about that. Okay, so Jim Carrey. Yeah, so Jupiter, again, so Jupiter conjunct Mercury exactly in Aquarius. Jupiter is going to expand the expression, and Jim Carrey just is like one of the most expressive people out there, insanely expressive. And Aquarius for comedy, I mean, between the two, Aquarius and Gemini for comedy. So between the two, Aquarius is far more absurd, wacky, nonsensical. It's just like the weird factor, the absurd factor comes from Aquarius. That's like all the comedians who are just like insanely weird and like goofy. That's very much Aquarian. Gemini is very quick, witty, more intellectual kind of humor comedy. He's got both, right? And they're almost trying, and that's like, wow, right? And then Mercury is bonifying this moon in Gemini because, you know, the trine. So this is really, and then Jupiter trine Mercury, or Jupiter trine moon, sorry. That's excellent as well. Jupiter moon combinations work fantastically together. Yeah. Hilarious in South Node, right? So yeah, he's also got Saturn in Aquarius, and then he's got a Scorpio ascendant, but Neptune, so great for acting. And then Neptune is square Mercury, right? So in real life, he's not logical. He's not Jupiter and Mercury, Jupiter conjunct Mercury and Neptune square Mercury is going to make him much more of an actor, a creative type, not a concrete thinker, not a logical type person, nonsensical, absurd, weird, strange, hilarious, great at acting, very expansive expression. Yeah. See, Jupiter is ruling the 5th house and the 2nd house. Mercury is ruling the 8th house and the 11th house. So the 8th house, even though it's Gemini, I mean, there is still like some like heaviness, seriousness, and he does tend to want to do some drama, right? He's done that. Yeah, he's also got Pluto in the 10th house, and Scorpio ascendant, right? So he does have some 8th house quality, some depth, right? He's deeply into the esoteric, the spirituality, and that's, you know, Neptune in Scorpio on the ascendant, like you know, he's spent time with Guru. I'm not sure who. Oh, like maybe Partole. I can't remember, but deeply into spirituality as well. Mars in Capricorn, so he's got a very kind of like strong expression, right? Jupiter's ruling the 2nd. I already said that, but yeah, like this combination is just hilarious, and you'll see a lot of comedians with Jupiter and Aquarius, a lot, because Jupiter just expands that Aquarius, that absurd kind of nature. And the combination of Jupiter and Mercury together in Aquarius is just works so well. Trying the moon in Gemini is like, for comedy, it's hilarious. All right. Aqua. So also Christian Bale, Ava Mendes, and Axl Rose. I don't know about Christian Bale and Ava Mendes chart, but I know Axl Rose has a whole Aquarius stellium. So let's move to Pisces. Last one, almost done. Allison Hannigan. So there's not too, interestingly enough, there's not too many Pisces combinations that are very famous, that are well known. Yeah, Quentin Tarantino is probably the most well known, but Allison Hannigan, she did pretty well for herself. She's the she was the, you know, the friend in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and the One Time in Bandcamp girl in American Pie. She's silly, she's goofy, she's kind of ditzy, you know, like this ditzy, funny, spacey kind of girl. And it's this Jupiter. This is 12 p.m. So this is not her real, this is not her birth. So it's not like Jupiter and Mercury conjunct the MC. It's not. We don't know what houses they are, right? And it's not trying the ascendant, because again, we don't know what house. But Jupiter and Mercury. So Mercury is debilitated and detriment. So it's kind of like this spacey, ditzy quality to her. And I don't really know much about her life. But Jupiter is strong in Pisces, so very creative. Jupiter in Pisces is going to be very compassionate as well, deeply philosophical, spiritual kind of nature. Jupiter expands the expression of Mercury. It's great for acting, you know, great for creativity and Not good for the intellect, not good for math, logic, science, that sort of thing. But mystical, spiritual, acting, creative type stuff, excellent for. So yeah, I think that's it. I don't want to make this too long. Her North Node in Pisces are in Sag. North Node and Neptune are in Sag, which would activate this Jupiter. So definitely in her later life, there's even more success, I would think. I don't know, like you'd have to look at the whole house, but she should do pretty well. In any case, guys, that is Mercury conjunct Jupiter. Yeah, these people are great at expressing themselves because Jupiter can really help with that. I have a very wide conjunction. My Jupiter's at 16 degrees Taurus, conjunct South Node, and then my Mercury's at 25. So it helps. It helps with expression. It kind of ruins the details of the Mercury mind. It I don't want to say ruins it, but it makes it much more difficult for Mercury to really contract, like sort of like a Saturn-Mercury combination. The Mercury can really contract into like the details, the nitty-gritty, right? The Jupiter expands it, so you just become much more philosophical and expansive, big expression. All right, so that's it for now, guys. Please hit the like button if you can, and subscribe if you haven't already. Leave a comment down below. Book a reading with me. My website is macroastrology.com. My email is macrogoldmachine@yahoo.com. And come to my class January 14th. All right, just email me if you want to get on the list. Cost is $15 per class. But if you have financial hardship and you want to pay less, pay $10. And if you still can't afford it, but you want to come anyway, just email me. We will work something out. But the classes are not free. Some people kind of like want me to do free classes. I'm not doing free classes. All right. That's it for now, guys. Thanks. Bye.